First videos for the second game, seconds for the third, and thirds for the first. Makes sense, right?
Signori e signori mutanti, ho il piacere di presentarvi.
C'est impossible. Ti chiamerei a essere robot. Cortex is back. If it isn't Crash Bandicoot.
As I pointed out in a previous episode, the original Crash Bandicoot game was developed in English and solely localized into Japanese. But the European languages are represented, albeit in written form. For the longest time I lived under the assumption that that only included the Central European set of French, German, Italian, Spanish and Dutch, but finding out about the manuals that include Portuguese and Greek, a thought dawned on me. Perhaps the archives are incomplete? After a bit of a search, the Nordic release had been retrieved, adding Swedish, Danish and Finnish to the list. As far as I'm aware, these are all the official releases of Crash 1's manual that offer a glimpse into what a localization could have been like. Consider this a bonus round of the Crash localization series to bridge the time until the next big episode. German. So, as a kid I used to call Crash Bandicoot the Fox game, since I didn't really know what a Bandicoot was, so a fox just seemed to resemble the character the most. Well, it turns out this didn't come from nowhere, as the manual consistently refers to bandicoots as desert foxes, even though the concepts of Crash Bandicoot and Desert Fox wouldn't cross paths until a different game came out. In that same vein, I called Wumpa Fruit apples, like many a Crash player does. This, too, is proven canonical according to this little booklet. Frankly, a glance at the back cover can already ring the trash translation alarm bells, as the first sentence here is lacking a participle to be grammatically correct and describes Crash as a desert fox bandicoot? That just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I have no idea what happened here, but intriguingly, the German does contain information the other languages don't, like mentioning Tona and using the English expression land down under, even though nobody'd say that in Germany. It genuinely just gives bootleg vibes if I'm honest. Italian. Taking out the highlights from the thumbnail, the Italian translator seems to have been equally flabbergasted as to how to explain what a bandicoot is. They went with Topo Gigante, which literally just means giant mouse. Buddy, I got nothing. Evolutionarily speaking, cats and elephants are more closely related than bandicoots and mice. And this isn't even a joke. Dutch. Here the coots were misidentified as so-called Beidelrats, meaning pouch rats, which actually refers to other marsupials like opossums. Just for reference, Romance languages tend to simply adapt the English word bandicoot as a loanword, while in Germanic languages they're usually translated as something along the lines of pouch badger. Portuguese. Not knowing what a bandicoot is isn't necessarily a big problem, since here they added the information that it's simply a certain Australian marsupial. And a certain individual of that certain kind of marsupial is a certain Torna, or Tuana, as she's referred to in the Portuguese manual. Make no mistake, this is not a one-off typo. Her name is consistently spelled like this on every single occasion. The European manual also makes a reference to the first level of the game, Insanity Beach, which has received a couple of translations, the first one being Praia da Loucura, meaning Beach of Insanity. French. The French version of Insanity Beach is a pretty conventional translation, treating insanity as a proper noun. Danish. This one tries to emulate what the English name does, but basically just comes out as insane beach. Finnish. Here they did a really funny thing by interpreting it as Northern Beach for sane people. That's based. I also want to take this opportunity and mention that Papu Papu, according to the manual, is native for pass me that dish again, mate, but I was made aware of it actually just meaning bean bean in Finnish. If you were a child in Finland growing up on Crash, did you interpret his name as Bean Bean? I must know, so leave a comment if you were that kid. By the way, I got sidetracked trying to expand this joke to other languages, using ChatGPT as a help to find out if Papu means anything in other languages, and ChatGPT just got a complete existential crisis, which is hilarious. So much for being intelligent. Greek. Once again, the Bandicoot is a certain kind of Australian animal. And not only do we get a version of the first level in Paranoia Beach, but also the return and origin of Rue the Gut River. However, the new character highlight is the new name of Pinstripelli Potorotti, who is now known as the Gangster Guy. I'm not even kidding. That's what O Gangsterakos means. Mwah. Simply the best. That about does it for the European side of things, which ended up including way more 1996 wackiness than I anticipated. But of course, there is the Asian elephant in the room, with undoubtedly the most interesting qualities. Japanese. This full game localization came with more adjustments than you'd usually expect, which would go on to be mainstays for the following games to come, like TNT crates donning a bomb icon, Aku Aku giving you hints.
Remember those computer monitors displaying Cortex's face? Did you realize you could jump on top of them? It feels good, like you're stomping on Cortex himself.
And naturally, full Japanese voice acting. Japanese Crash 1 also received new music tracks for some boss fights and bonus rounds, though personally I prefer the original ones. The character epilogues from the secret ending received minor alterations or expansions, so here Koala Kong has garnered massive acting success, earning enough money to buy an island for a 3-minute appearance in a movie, Pinstripe's still moving to Chicago, but suffering from a machine gun ban in the USA, and Brio also conducting his own research next to bartending, like would be referenced in the Crash 2 manual. And of course, every single level has received its own Japanese title. Those names tend to point out one key feature or set piece in a given level, and on the odd occasion comment on it. Oftentimes, they're very wordy and sometimes even full sentences, which is a stark contrast to the original English names, being usually very plain and generic, or pretty obvious references, no longer than 2 or 3 words. There are more version differences that can be seen as an attempt to rebalance the difficulty of the game by making certain things harder, making other things easier, adding more bonus levels, or swapping things around. Those are fairly well documented on sites like Bandipedia in very neat lists, so if you feel like learning about those, you know where to go. At the end of the day, I'm glad I gave Crash 1 some attention. I also find it kinda adorable that they decided to write a character bio for the wild boar in the Japanese manual. And while that's not really a localization change, I think it's important to highlight that the capital P pork in the American manual here actually implies that that's the wild boar's name. So let's all collectively not forget about that ever again. Justice for pork.